Well, it's an important time of the year as we get ready for the end of the school year. We're transitioning our kids into higher grades, maybe into the next school from elementary to middle school or middle school to high school onto the career path around to higher education or a trade or something along those lines. A big factor that goes in to these kids having successful careers, successful lives, successful education before all of that is their ability to read and enjoy reading and learn from reading. One individual here in our local area is helping to contribute to that from right here in our local area. Andy Gutman is a children's author and has released his newest book, Fishbowl, available now on gutcheckbooks.com. And he joins us now on the Megacast to talk about that and more. Andy, thanks for being with us on the show today.
Well, thanks for having me here, Tyler. I always enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, glad to have you on. We've had you on in the past to talk about some of your other book releases. But for those that are not familiar with your writing and with you as a children's author, let's just take a step back and talk about the process that you go through, what your aim is as a children's author when you're trying to incorporate stories and certain values and certain lessons into these stories, but also take that from an adult's perspective and put that in a way that a child can learn from and enjoy and grow that love of reading. How do you approach writing these books?
Well, I couldn't have said that better myself. You have a really great way of saying that. But, I approach these in trying to find ways that engage children, try to make a difference in their lives. And wherever I can, I try to teach them lessons that they can take with them wherever they go. But it's really about, helping them learn to love reading at an early age so they can keep up with their classmates and even get ahead of them as they go. To me, reading is one of the greatest things that you can teach a child, and a love for it is so important at an early age.
And so just taking that step back there, something I mentioned earlier on, and just I'd like to dive a little deeper into that because it's so interesting to talk to children's authors, especially those that are adults or have men parents or are just, someone that's around kids or not around kids and trying to put these perspectives, these lessons in a way that are entertaining to kids, especially because that keeps them coming back to want to flip the next page and read the next book, but also teach them important lessons in a way that they're not going to be able to take or they might not be receptive to from their parents or from their teachers or from day-to-day life. So how do you balance that too as you're putting the creative energy into these books, but also writing the prose that's going to capture a child's attention?
Yeah, I think it helps that I still think like a child. But to me, it's really about capturing their creativity, their imagination. Children are still full of life and energy, and the world is theirs. And they don't at a young age they really still have in them so much of that creativity that's bursting to get out. So if you can put something in front of them that captures that attention and keeps their attention span involved, I think that goes a long way. With my books, I add music. Every one of my books has a song that goes along with it. Fishbowl is one of those that I think is a very catchy tune and engages kids, and I think they'll be singing along and reading along for hours and hopefully many, many times.
The new book is called Fishbowl. It's available on his website, gutcheckbooks.com. You can also find it on Amazon. Just search for Fishbowl by Andy Gutman, and you will find that paperback version available that was released earlier on this year. And Andy, as you talk about that, you mentioned putting a song along with the story. Where did that decision factor in? Because that is something that's pretty unique among children's authors. We don't always see, or very often even see, a children's author release a book and then a song that connects to it. So why that?
My books almost always start with a song, and they turn into books. I've always envisioned myself being a songwriter. I grew up, with some wonderful musicians that I always aspired to be, but I continue to tell people I can't play a musical instrument and I shouldn't sing. So it turned into creating these songs, working with vocalists, instrumentalists, and then turning that into a wonderful book that people can read and engage in. But, first and foremost, I've always considered myself a songwriter and an author as kind of a secondary piece to that. But I find music, bridges a gap between us all. We all find, whether we're driving to work each day, whether we're listening at home in the background, whether we're going to concerts, music is something that just we all kind of find common ground in and common love of. And so to me, that's the basis for a lot of what I do when it comes to book writing. Is I start with that music, and then I find my way to the story behind that. So it's kind of a multi-step process for me to get to those children's books.
And it's interesting too because as much as kids can be captivated by a book, by a novel that's aimed at children, or just a short story that's aimed at younger readers, nothing quite captures a child like a really catchy song. And I know plenty of parents who have said it. My kid gets a song stuck in their head. I'm hearing that song day and night when I'm around my kids. When I'm not around my kids, it's echoing in my head all day long. So that's another big part of what goes into your books. And you can find Andy's books at gutcheckbooks.com. Fishbowl is the newest one, available for $9.50 on gutcheckbooks.com. You can also find it available on Amazon for the same price, $9.50 on Amazon as well, and get that and read it and sing along with your kids as well. But now let's get into the story, Andy. For those that may be interested in a new book for their kids or something to have some fun with their kids as they're learning, and especially this summer doing some reading, continuing that education from home during their break from school, what's Fishbowl all about?
Yeah, so Fishbowl is the story of a little puffer fish living in his fishbowl and finding friendship and enjoyment among the other fish and toys and such that are in the fishbowl with him. It's really, I think it's just a fun book more than anything else. And the tune, I think, will be one of those that gets stuck in kids' heads, and they'll be singing along with that for hours, along with parents. It's just a great little story. It actually, it came from my work life where I was, in my daytime, I work in commercial real estate, and I have an office that we were setting up in Milwaukee. And it was right in the main corridor of the building where a lot of people walk by, and our staff, it's an all glassed in office. And a lot of our staff was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in a fishbowl on a given day. So it got as I was flying back and forth on some trips to that office, I had a tune in my head and a thought in my mind, and it turned into this, what I think is just a wonderful, fun book that started as some of our office workers stuck inside the glass fishbowl of their office, and turned into a lovely story about this wonderful puffer fish who's living his best life inside of a fishbowl.
Yeah, first thing I thought of when I saw the cover for this, and when I read a little bit more about the story, the press release that your representatives had sent me. First thing I thought about was one of my favorite cartoons when I was a younger child called Stanley. It was this cartoon about this kid named Stanley and his pets and the interactions he had with them. And his best friend, arguably, was his fish, Dennis. So that was the first thing I thought of with this. And it's something that kids love. They love animals. They love friendship. They love these lessons. So then what are the big lessons that kids can learn from Fishbowl? If parents are looking for something that's got a good story behind it, something interesting, of course, a catchy song, but also a life lesson.
Yeah, I think that's, the one thing that you said that really resonates with me. One of the things we're doing for this is, we're running a contest for the most creative fish tales that people can tell. So what we're going to do is we're going to give away a starter fish set with a fish to the best stories and imaginary and creative things related to Fishbowl. But I think what you're finding is a lot of kids, their first pet is a fish. It's low maintenance to start with and something easy. And so I think it brings into children's lives the importance of taking care of pets and being very good with that, as well as the importance of creating friendships wherever you go. And that's a good story. It's getting along with people. It's getting along with the fish friends inside of this fishbowl, and finding happiness wherever your location is.
Fishbowl is available in paperback for $9.50 on gutcheckbooks.com as well as Amazon.com. To search Fishbowl by Andy Gutman, and you'll find it available in both of those locations. $9.50 comes along with a song available and encouraged for readers between 3 and 8 and early readers for ages 5 to 9 years old. Gutcheckbooks.com. Andy, before we let you go, any other projects in the works that we should be looking out for in the near future?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I have a great new book. I've been very fortunate to work with one of the Farmington Hills schools or Farmington schools called Beachview Elementary, working with some fifth graders who are writing stories using some of the characters from my other books, uh, telling incoming kindergartners what their first day of kindergarten is going to be like, and giving them some calm and peace and knowing that we're all nervous on that first day. And it's just a great little story told from those about to exit their elementary school life to those incoming kids. It's called My First Day of Kindergarten. It'll be a Beachview Elementary series, and it's really just a lot of fun working with these fifth graders who are so smart and creative. And that book will be out in June. Looking forward to sharing that not only with Farmington schools but with the entire world. What a great thing to work with, and one of these days love to bring those kids back on so they can tell you their stories.
That would be fantastic. Working with our local schools and working to help our local kids get better at reading, enjoy reading, and have some fun along the way. Andy Gutman, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Tyler. Have a great day.